So first of all, if we discuss about what is the main purpose and what is the main objective of this device, which is known as ripple tank, right? So this device or this whole experiment is designed to observe different phenomena of waves, which is known as reflection, bouncing back of waves. Second one is of refraction, which is bending of waves. And the third one is of diffraction, right? So the main purpose
Yes.
to design or to perform this experiment is to observe these type of different phenomena or different behavior of waves in the ripple tank, right? So starting from
Yes.
the first phenomena, which is related to the reflection. So reflection means to bounce back from a reflecting surface, right? So when waves are going to bounce back or reflect back from any surface, so we are going to discuss about that phenomena, right?
Yes.
And first of all, let's discuss about the setup of the whole experiment of ripple tank. Then we can easily observe or we can easily discuss about the orientation of waves in that example, right? Okay, so first of all, there is a shallow tank in which shallow water is going to be added because the height of tank is not much very greater. So there is a tank and we are going to fill it completely with the water. Okay, so this is our shallow tank in which we are going to fill it with water waves. Or
Sir, bounce back mean reflection, refraction, and diffraction.
no, we are discussing about first reflection, right? So our first concern is of reflection, the bouncing back of wave from the reflecting surface. First,
Yes.
first we observe that what the actual setup of the experiment. Then we will discuss about the reflection, refraction, and diffraction. Okay.
Okay.
So there is a tank which is filled with water. So this is a tank and which is going to be filled with water. And this is the surface of water in this tank. And there is a LED bulb or a normal bulb which is going to be placed on the upside of this tank. And another thing that this tank is made up of glass, which means that tank is transparent, right? So the main
Yeah.
purpose,
So
yeah,
it means that the tank is transparent and the bulb will be falling down into the tank.
yes. So we can easily observe the different orientation of waves downward on the screen after ripple tank, right? So for that purpose, we use a screen on the ground level. Let's suppose there is a screen, or you can simply say that this is the observation side of your tank. You are going to observe different type or different orientation of waves onto this screen, right? So after observation, we observe in ripple tank that the reflection of these waves are somewhere dark and somewhere light. But how can we generate the waves in this tank? Because there is no source to generate waves in this tank. So we need a continuous process of generating wave in this tank. So we simply use a motor a type of motor which continuously vibrates this water surface, right? So there is a motor
Yeah.
which is going to vibrate this water surface.
What happens while vibrating?
So when water surface is going to be vibrate, so continuously waves are generating in this tank, right?
Yes.
To continuously generate
What
waves in this tank,
happens?
we use a motor, the main purpose of motor is to vibrate, and for that vibration, it helps to vibrate the water surface in the tank. And in that result,
Yes,
the waves
yes, I
are,
understood this. But what happens to the light rays which comes from the bulb?
so now water waves are going to be in this pattern, right? Now, the main purpose of
Yes,
using that bulb, you can see that there is some part is crust and trough. So there are different part of wave are going to be observed under the light of that bulb, right? Which means that
yes,
the orientation of or you can say that the shadow of this wave is going to be in different pattern on the screen, right? So on the screen, we observe that the some part of screen is going to be the brightest one, and after alternate distance, the bright fringes are there, right? So bright fringes are going to be formed after every alternate or after some equal distance, right?
yes,
So there are some bright fringes. So bright fringes are there, and you can also see that there is a gap between these bright fringes. So also some of them are dark fringes, right?
yes.
So we,
Where is the screen located?
yes, screen is just a plain surface under the ripple tank, right? Just let's suppose if there is a
Oh,
table and we make that table of a glass, so light can easily pass through that table onto the floor of that room, right?
yeah,
So same process is going to be happen in the ripple tank, right? Ripple tank is on some height and there is a reflection of wave onto the floor of that room or that observation room, right?
yes,
So there are some bright fringes, there are some dark fringes, and what is the actual meaning of these dark and bright fringes? So we can observe that bright fringes gives you the crust or the upper part of the wave, right?
yes,
So the upper part of the wave is going to be bright on the screen, and dark fringes means the lower part of the wave, which is known as trough, right?
yes,
Because the lower part of wave is completely in contact with the glass of the tank, right? So when the waves are
yes,
going to be contact with this water container, which is made up of glass, so the shadow of this wave is going to be dark one, right? Because two mediums
yeah,
are going to be combined, so there will be a shadow or a dark fringes onto the screen that is known as trough, and the upper part is known as crust, right?
yes,
So this pattern will also help us to study the crust and the trough part of the wave, right?
yes,
Okay, so this is our first observation, and this is the whole setup of ripple tank, that how the ripple tank works and what are the parameters to draw or to observe the dark and bright fringes. Now let's come to our main purpose of this tank, that how reflection is going to be produced in this tank, right? So let's
Yes.
suppose if we discuss about reflection, that waves are going to be bounced back in this process. So if we discuss about reflection, so for reflection, let's suppose if there are water waves coming from right to left direction, or for simplicity, we draw straight lines, so that will be much easier to understand the concept, because we are drawing these diagrams on paper, so we cannot draw them in 3D form. So straight line will easily help to identify the directions, right? So
Yes.
if we draw the waves in a straight 2D pattern, so let's suppose water waves are going to be in a straight line like this. And if there is a obstacle there is an obstacle, or you can say that in the tank you placed a wooden stick in middle of the, or in the path of the waterways, right? So that wooden stick is going to be placed with some angle like this, right?
Yes.
So this is made up of wood or any type of solid material, not necessary it is made up of wood, but if we placed a wood in the path of the waterways which are coming from left to right, this is the direction of waterways. So after reflecting from this wooden surface, what will be the direction of wave after reflecting from this medium or this material?
Uh,
So waves are,
there won't be any direction.
yes, it will reflect in some other direction, and that direction is going to be downward, right?
Yes.
So waves are going to be in downward direction like this. So this is the direction of wave after reflecting from the obstacle or wooden bar, right?
Yes.
And you can write for this process that there is a normal line. If you want to measure the angle, that what will be the angle of incidence? Incidence means that when waves are going to strike the surface or that obstacle, so the angle suspended there is known as angle of incidence. If I write that term, so that term is specifically known as angle of incidence. So the incident rays or the incident waves are known as, or can make angle of incidence. So the yellow lines are the incident rays, and when they strike this wooden surface, so you can measure angle. And how you can measure the angle in this diagram? First of all, you need to draw a perpendicular line, right?
Yes.
This is a normal line, and normal line means a straight line which is perpendicular to the surface, right?
Yes.
Perpendicular to the surface, because we can't measure the angle of incidence and angle of reflection with the surface of obstacle. So you need to draw a normal line which is always in 90 degrees with the surface, right? So now you can
Uh,
easily,
90 degree with whom?
with the reflecting surface, if wood, or you can say that the obstacle is placed in this orientation, so you just need to draw a straight line which is completely perpendicular or at 90 degree with the reflecting surface, right?
Yes.
So this is the 90-degree, or you can say that the angle between normal and the reflecting surface, right? This
Yes.
angle is equals to 90. So now you can easily measure the angle of incidence. Let's suppose if wave is going to strike this medium, okay, and if we extend this normal line, so now you can easily measure the angle of incidence with the help of this normal line, right?
Yes.
And same goes for this process, that you again need to draw a normal line here to calculate the angle of reflection, right? You don't need to remember
Yes.
in this chapter in very detail. I'm just explaining this so you can easily understand the direction of waves in the questions which are given in your exam or in your past papers, right? Because when we discuss the chapter of light, so these concept of angles are again going to be repeated, so you can understand this in detail on that chapter. For this ripple tank, it is not necessary to measure the accurate angle with the normal line, right?
Yes.
Because no such detailed questions are included related to the direction. The basic one are related to just identify the difference between these concepts, right?
Yeah.
So the final conclusion from this observation is that angle of incidence will be equal to angle of reflection, right? Which means that the waves which are striking or which are going to strike the obstacle with some angle will reflect back with the same angle in different direction, right?
Yes. What is the angle of reflection?
This angle will be known as angle of reflection, and this one is known as the angle of incident, right? The incident rays make angle of incidence and the reflected rays will make angle of reflection. This is, or this part will make angle of reflection, right?
Yes.
So this is our first observation or our first phenomena which is related to the ripple tank, right? That is of
Yes.
reflection. Any confusion?
No.
So you just remember these two things, that bright fringes will make the crust part and the dark fringes will make trough part, right?
Yes.
And the second thing, that in reflection process, angle of incidence will be equal to angle of reflection, right?
Yes.
Any confusion in it?
Yes, I have. You said that the bright fingers is crust and dark fingers is stuff. Is
Yes,
it always like that,
yes.
or it depends on the
No, it
question?
always remains same. This is the final conclusion from this experiment, because these experiments are going to be repeated many times to remove the error and to remove the uncertainty from the experiment. So these conclusions are finally and authentic, which are derived from this experiment. So crust will always form bright fringes and trough will always make dark fringes, right? So this is understood.
Yes.
Okay. So moving towards next observation from ripple tank, which is of refraction. Refraction normally means, in simple words, the bending of waves, right?
Yes.
So the bending process is known as refraction. You observe in your daily life that if there is a glass of water which is made up of a glass material, and if you placed a straw or a stick in that glass, so that stick is going to be like broken one, right? If you place a straw or a stick or a pencil in a water glass which is transparent, so if you observe that straw or that stick in that glass, so that straw or stick is going to be like in this form. If I draw that diagram, let's suppose if there is a glass and it is filled with this level of water, and if we placed a wooden stick or pencil or straw in this glass, so the image of that stick is going to be like this one, right? You observe that
Yes,
difference in the orientation of that straw or stick which is placed straight in the water, right? So this is
yes,
due to the bending of light, because when light travels from one medium to another, so there the light is going to be bent when it travels from one medium to the other, right? Because normally light travels in our air medium, and when they enters into the glass or enters into the water, so that medium is going to be dense as compared to the air, right? So
yes,
this bending process happens due to the change of medium. So that same change we are going to discuss in our next process, which is known as refraction of waves. So this is the second result which is going to be conclude from this experiment of ripple tank, right? So refraction means bending
yes,
of light, and there are two types of refraction which is going to be placed in ripple tank, or you can say that there are two possible case. The first case is when waves are traveling from waves are
one means to another.
yes, when waves are moving from rare to dense, which means from a light medium to the heavy one, right? Moving
Yes,
from rare to dense medium, this is our first condition. Rare to dense, and the second case second case is of from dense to rare medium, the opposite one, right?
yes,
So if we want to discuss about these two types of refraction or these type of cases in refraction, we always remember the direction of waves which are going to be travel. Let's suppose if we discuss about the first one, and again waves are going to be travel in a straight line, right? So let's suppose there are straight lines or waves which are traveling from left to right. Okay. And if we discuss about the medium, let's suppose this is a rare medium. And since we are discussing about the water waves, right? Not light waves, because in ripple
yes,
tank, there are only water waves. So we have to discuss according to the water waves. So when we discuss about the water waves, so what will be the rare medium in water? Because there is already a water waves and water surface. So how we can identify the difference between rare and dense medium in the water? Any idea?
in the dense medium,
Yes.
Um,
What will be
and the density is more.
just like the example
The
of
density is. I
yeah.
mean, the density is more.
Okay. So the same example, if we observe in the swimming pool or on the seaside, there are two different densities, or you can say there are two different surfaces of water. If you go into the deep sea, so the water is going to be the dense one because there are much greater water molecules as compared to the water which is on the beach of that seaside, right?
Oh,
For
so
height,
that's why the deep water is dark.
yes, due to the depth, because light is going to be bent with greater angle into the deep water, right? So greater the depth, the dense will be the water medium, right?
Yes,
And if we discuss about the rare one, so rare means shallow water. So
shallow water.
yes, means less dense. So this is the shallow part of water, and water waves are moving from shallow water to the deep one, right? Let's suppose on the seaside, you fill a bucket full of water and throw that water into the deep one, right? So same process is going to be happen here, that we have a rare waterways and that are going to be added into the deep water, right? So for
Yeah,
change of that medium, let's draw a separation line between those medium. So we can easily draw the final direction of these waves. So there is a separation between shallow and deep water, and now water is going to be enter into the deep one. So now we need to identify the direction of these waterways. That what will be the direction of waterways after passing through the dense medium. Any idea?
water waves will bend more.
Waterways will bend more. Up now there is a confusion that in which direction either they will bend to upward direction, downward direction, or will
No,
go
no,
straight. So for
no,
that,
no.
yes,
I mean the object. If you put an object, it will bend more.
yes, will bend more. And for the correct direction or the accurate direction, first of all, we need to draw a reference line which is known as normal line, right? So again, we have to
Yes,
draw a normal line which is perpendicular to the surface of this medium, or you can say the deep medium. So this is our normal line, right? This is again perpendicular to this surface.
yes.
So always remember one thing, when light or sorry, waterways are going to travel from rare to dense medium or from shallow to deep medium, so light are going to be bent in the or bent towards normal, right? So light waterways are going to be bent towards normal, like in this way. Okay, so it means that they are moving towards normal line or bending towards normal line, right? So when waves are moving from rare to dense medium, so the final conclusion of this phenomena is that waves will bend, or you can say that waves will bend towards normal, bend towards normal, right? Clear?
Yes, yes.
And what will happen if we follow the reverse process? Now this will become very simple to identify.
What do you mean?
If we move waterways from deep to shallow, then what will be happen? Waves will,
Uh, the the waves will become straight.
no, in this process we are discussing about the refraction, bending of light, bending of waves. So waves are going to be bent in some direction, always bend in some direction, but there is a difference of direction. So you need to remember that specific direction for every medium, right? So when water waves
Yes.
travel from dense to rare, the process is going to be reversed. That in first process we observe that waves will bend towards normal, right? And in dense to rare medium, waves will bend away or toward.
Away,
Yes,
away normal.
opposite process is going to be happen here. Waves will bend away from normal. So you need to remember these points because in many questions they ask you to draw the direction of the wave after refraction. So if you remember these points, so you can easily draw the waves after passing from one medium to another, right?
Yes.
So these are two key points which you have to remember in the concept of refraction because these type of questions are many time revised or you can say that repeated in your exam papers. So when I share the worksheet of this chapter, so you can saw that many questions are related to this topic, right?
Yes.
So this is the main
We,
difference in passing or transfer of waterways from one medium to another, right?
yes.
Any confusion? Any question related to these topics as far as we discuss?
Mm, no.
Okay. So this is the basic concept of reflection and refraction in ripple tank. Now only one topic is remaining, which is of diffraction, right?
Yes. Wait, I have a I have a doubt, sir.
Yes,
In the reflection, the diagram which you draw here,
yes. Reflection.
and the angle of incidence and the
Yes,
angle of refraction. So,
yes.
like, how does the water direction moves from straight to downwards?
Because there is a wooden surface or obstacle. Let's suppose if there is a cricket ball and when ball strikes the bat, so ball moves in the direction wherever the face of the bat is, right?
Yes,
If you placed a straight vertical bat in front of a ball, so ball will reflect back towards the bowler because the reflecting surface is just straight, right? And if you
yes,
change the direction of the face of the bat, so ball will reflect according to that, right? So the same process
yes,
going to be happen in this, that it depends upon the orientation of the reflecting object, right?
yes. I mean, you mean the position of the
Yes,
obs
position of the
the wood?
obstacle. Yes, position of the wood or the obstacle is very important. So that will guide
Yeah.
you the reflection of the waves. Okay. And the final process is of diffraction. And there is a little difference between refraction and diffraction. In refraction, we observe that there is a complete change of medium, right? But in diffraction,
Yes,
there is a slightly different term which means that reflection through edges or reflection through the edges. Again, consider the same example of that bat and ball. If there is a bat coming straight into the direction of ball and ball is not hit into the middle of the bat, which means that ball is going to hit the edge of the bat, right? So the
Yes.
direction of that ball is going to be unknown for us, right? Because either it reflect with some short angle or either it will reflect with a greater angle, right? You observe in the cricket match that many slips per second, third, fourth, fifth, many fielders are standing in different positions. So that is why, because they don't know in which direction ball is going to be reflect after reflecting from the edge of the bat, right?
Yes.
So this is the difference, that when waves or waterways are going to reflect from the edge of the obstacle, not into the face of the obstacle, from the edge of the obstacle, so the phenomena is going to be different, right?
Yes.